Hi everybody, Levi Clay here, and I'm back again to do another vlog type video. Currently tentatively still titled Mandates with Guitar Mates. So the guy that I'm going to be talking to today probably isn't a new face to you based on the content that I've done in the past. There was some heated discussion with said person, and lots of drama, and who doesn't love a good bit of YouTube drama? It's certainly been an interesting few months for both myself and him. This is actually our second conversation now. I filmed one before but didn't record my audio. Thankfully now we're recording my audio, so everything should be good. So I would like to welcome and thank for his time, Mr. Ursin DeRoche. Say hello.
Yeah, thanks, Levi. The first conversation we had was good, and it didn't get recorded, but, it's all fixed now. All you have to do is title this video Ursin and Levi scream at each other for an hour, and you're gonna, because we're celebrating 10,000 views of the original video.
Yeah, it has been 10,000 views. Go on.
Yeah, every time we hit another 10,000 views, we should get together and talk
and celebrate and see how things are. So I'll tell you what. Let's start by kind of just running over that video, like where that came about, why that came about. At least on my part, I'll explain my part, and then you explain yours. Because it's a shame, like you said, we did this conversation before, and it was really good. I really enjoyed it, and was looking forward to uploading it. And then I sat down and listened to it, and no voice for me. So hopefully, it's going to be as good as last time. So essentially, what happened was, I often get sent things, videos, and content and stuff from people on Facebook, and they're like, "You should check this out," and like check what this guy said. And I've done content on obviously Tom Hess and Tommaso Zilio and lots of guys. Somebody sent me a link to a video of Ursin doing a Facebook live stream, wasn't it? A Facebook live stream on the subject of Troy Grady's Cracking the Code. And I kind of watched the first 2 minutes and then went, oh, okay, this could be entertaining. And I'm sure we'll talk about the fact that a lot of what I put on YouTube is a work, but I thought I'm sure I can respond to this and entertain people, and it kind of blew up. I got a little bit shouty with things because you were saying some things that I thought were kind of demonstrably false about Troy Grady's Cracking the Code stuff. And it was lots of people who watched that video, and it was an interesting one. But yeah, why don't you tell the story from your side on that one?
Yeah, so and I'll try to be as concise as possible, because people are clicking on this and they don't realize that we already had this conversation. Yeah. But for the purposes of this right here, so I was on Facebook and I had been asked quite a bit about Troy and what I thought of Cracking the Code, and I really never could answer anybody because I'd never really seen any of it. There was a guy. He had subscribed to Cracking the Code. He sent me his login information and said, watch the stuff and let me know what you think, because I want to know what you think. And so I said, okay. And so I watched everything that was up there at the time, which was all the Ingve stuff, Eric Johnson stuff, and all the Paul Gilbert stuff. And then there was random like a John McLaughlin lick, an Al Di Meola lick, a Benny Moore lick, stuff like that. And so I went back to him and said, I didn't think it was his question. What he wanted to know was it worth investing, money in? Should he keep subscribing on a monthly basis? I told him that, from my standpoint, educational music standpoint, which I don't think that's something we really didn't get too deep into last time, which we should this time. But yeah, I didn't think it was, personally. And so he took that information and did whatever he wanted with it. That's another thing that brings up I'm sorry, let me finish. So people kept asking me over the years about Troy Grady. I think Troy's videos on YouTube go back only about 4 years. So this has all been with this, but over the course of the 4 years, people constantly would ask me about it.
Sure.
So I decided one night, on Facebook for my Facebook friends, of which you and I didn't even know each other.
No, we didn't.
So we weren't friends. And I have absolutely no business making guitar videos. I have absolutely no, like, you have like incredible equipment to do all this and a great camera and all that. I don't make YouTube videos,
Sure.
so I don't have any of that, you know. So I absolutely have no business doing that. That's why I didn't really play a lot in the video, because I don't have the equipment to do that with, because I don't make YouTube videos.
Sure.
But I wanted to do a live stream just to basically tell my group of friends, who were mostly guitar players, you know, what I thought of cracking the code. Was I trying to be funny? Yes. Was I trying to be entertaining to my, you know, friends that were watching? Yeah, sure. I mean, you try to do the same thing with
Absolutely.
your YouTube. Yeah. Probably anybody that makes, you know, videos, you know, you want to be entertaining. Yeah, I was trying to be funny. I was trying to be a smart ass and stuff. But I mean, I stand behind what I have to say about the stuff. But I think this is where things got perverted. Okay, like, my friends on Facebook, they understand or understood to some level, like, what I'm about, or my personality, or my attitudes towards things, you know. And I made a mistake, you know, and you pointed it out to me, that once you put something into the internet, you know, that's it.
Yeah, so it never goes away.
I wasn't thinking about that when I did the video. I was just thinking I was doing a public service announcement to my Facebook friends.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's what happened. So I did the video, which I stand behind the video and the things I said. And I wish I could have gone into more detail, and I wish I could have been more descriptive about it, actually. But anyway, so you took the video and you downloaded the video, and then you put the video on YouTube and you criticized my criticism. Okay. Yeah. So your friends on YouTube are your subscribers. And I want everybody to understand that, like, I totally understand that I'm walking into the serpent's den. You know, most people that are watching this video, they like Levi, they like his attitude, they don't like me. I'm not going to change anybody's mind about anything.
Let me stop you on that one. So I'm planning on doing a video tomorrow, actually, on the subject of integrity, because I feel that integrity is obviously a key part of what I do. I stand behind what I say, and I very firmly believe that sometimes I make videos that people don't like, but I still stand behind them, because the obvious logical train of thought in my mind is, it's okay if you don't like me for who I am. I would so much rather you didn't like me for who I am than you do like me for someone that I pretend to be. So when you talk about, like, being in the lion's den, the thing I would love more than anything about the people that subscribe to my channel and watch my stuff would be if a good portion of them disagree with everything I say. It's totally not acceptable to go out and be abusing Ursin. Like, there's no need for it. Listen to everything he says. Be a critical thinker. Like, he's probably going to... In fact, I'm going to tell everybody at some point that I've deleted the second video that we'll talk about, and the reason that's deleted is because you will point out that actually the content in there was wrong. It was objectionable. So yeah, you're not really in the lion's den. Sure, people know who I am and they know who you are, but you know, in the as they say, in the market of free ideas, where everybody's equal. So sorry, continue.
I know, but let's not pretend that people are going to watch this video on your channel and say, "Oh, wow, Ursin, he's great." No, I mean, most of them are going to agree with whatever you have to say. So, I mean,
I can link you to a lot of videos that I've put up in the last couple of weeks where they've got more downvotes than upvotes and a lot of negative comments about me. But I still, again, I stand behind the things I say. So,
I talked to you last time, and I'm talking to you this time because, and people have asked me, like, why in the hell would you want to talk to Levi Clay? And the reason why is because first of all, we've already had a conversation, and like it was a good conversation, and you're a pretty cool guy. We had a lot in common. And number two, I do believe that the only thing that we have in life to fix problems is to talk about it. So if anything, then I want to talk to you because of that. Yeah. So anyway, so you took the video and you criticized the video. Now here we go. This is where like things get dicey, right? So I don't know you and you don't know me.
Yep.
And I made a video for my Facebook friends. You took the video, and in the video, I never say that Troy Grady sucks. A lot of Europeans that watch your channel, because you're European, so you have a lot of like European followers, they constantly say that in the comment section, I cunted off Troy Grady. Explain that to me. What does I cunted off Troy Grady mean? What does that mean?
Do they? I mean, honestly, like that's not one where I keep a video where I keep massively up to date with the comments. But if someone said that in conversation, I don't think I've ever heard someone say that in conversation. I guess if someone said that, I would assume that what they mean is you're being rude about. But honestly, that's not really a phrase that I think I've heard.
Yeah.
Stop cunting off Troy Grady, man.
Yeah, I never said he was a bad player. As a matter of fact, I said that he was a very good player.
Yeah.
In the video. But here's the issue. You on your channel, and as you just said, you want to engage people. You want to have a discourse. You want to talk to people.
Yep.
And I do too, man. That's great. I think that's awesome. The problem is when you did the video, the criticism of my video.
Yep.
You did not create an arena for people to have a discourse about what I said.
Yeah.
You literally called me stupid in the first 20 seconds of the video.
Yeah.
And all you do is just insult me. So, of course, all of your subscribers, people that watch the video, 10,000 people watch the video, but only 150 people commented. So either that tells me a few things. Either A, people agree with me, but they don't want to say anything because the comments all are telling you how great you are and how stupid I am because you constantly insult me in the video.
Yeah.
So you're not creating an arena for people to have a discourse. What you're doing is you created an arena for people to make fun of me because I criticized something you liked and a guy. And I tried to figure out for the longest time, like, why would you do that? Then someone emailed me that I don't know. It was a person that I don't know, but my email address is out there on the internet, so I guess he found it some kind of way.
Yeah.
And he told me that you had worked for Troy Grady and done some transcriptions for him. So all these months, all I could figure is that you did that because you like him so much. And there definitely seems to be this idol worship of him that I would like to talk about, which we didn't really talk about too much the first time. But that's the question I would have for you first off is why?
Okay, I'll respond to that. Let me respond to that. So, like you're 100% right with everything you said there. There was no discourse. An arena wasn't set up, and what we're doing now, I prefer this so much more. You say that like back then you weren't making YouTube videos and you didn't have the ability to make YouTube videos, but actually, if you watch that video from like how I'm filming it, it's literally just a webcam. My production quality has gone through the roof in the last 8 or 9 months because of supporters allowing me to buy things like microphones and shit and lighting. So at the time, wasn't even sure how I'd go about doing like a live discourse thing like this. And also, I'm not going to lie, a lot of the YouTubers that I follow in the kind of skeptic community, that's just the way things are done. Like somebody makes a video and then person B responds to it and criticizes their points, and depending on the style of the content creator. Sometimes it's a bit more abusive, and sometimes it's civilized. But then again, it goes back, and the first person will criticize or pull apart the argument that's been made, and it's not a great way of doing things, but it's entertaining. And we have to remember, and you know this, obviously you know this, that video was about entertainment, and it wouldn't feel right to hurl abuse at you in this kind of live person-to-person setting, because this is about discourse. This is about actual discussion, listening to your ideas and responding. And I obviously much prefer that. I think of that video, the YouTube video that I put up, as being like an old 80s wrestling promo, which, you know, we talked a lot about wrestling. I grew up on the wrestling thing, and there's a lot of that in my entertainment style, shall we say. But so I'll go on to your point that you made there about like Troy Grady and Troy Grady worship. At the time when I put that up, I think I'd done 2, maybe 3 transcription things for Troy. I'd been a fan of Troy's work for a very long time. I was really happy when Troy reached out to me to do some transcriptions, but I'd definitely been a fan of his work. I hadn't bought any of his work. I'd tell a lie. I'd bought the Cracking the Code season 1, the TV show type thing, but none of the instructional stuff, because I found his style very entertaining and informative, and also, like, actually me being a younger guy, I'm 28 now, I didn't grow up at the time that like you and Troy were kicking about, and I've obviously got these romanticized ideas of what it was like to hear Van Halen for the first time and Malmsteen for the first time, and I've romanticized those ideas in my mind for years and years. So when Troy came out and made all that stuff, I found it really interesting. I remember getting to the end of the first episode of Cracking the Code, and he said I turned on the radio and I heard this blast of guitar, and I was like, it's Malmsteen, it's got to be Malmsteen. And when he revealed it as Malmsteen, I was like, I knew it. It's amazing to imagine what that was like. So I wouldn't say worship of what Troy's done. The more and more you watch my content, the more and more you realize I'm very, very passionate about education. And I just felt, and still feel, that Troy has kind of set the bar for what you expect now people to talk about in terms of education. Like you talked about Chris Brooks's product, and I'm sure we'll talk about that. Like, Chris is a friend of mine. I love Chris. But Chris now uses terminology like downward pickslanting, and Ben Eller uses terminology like pickslanting, but that doesn't predate Troy. None of it does. This is all terminology that's been coined by Troy based on his research and his findings, and I have to respect that, because that's a feat that is incredible to me. Like, for the next 50 years, people are going to be referencing his material. You don't think so? I mean, we'll come to that. People can't see you right now. I should point that out. I feel that in academic institutions, people are going to reference his material and his terminology, pickslanting and things like that. Because you have to remember, we play an instrument that is so new in comparison to the length of life that the piano has had. So when you are a conservatory studying piano, every single aspect of how it is taught has been refined over a long period of time, and you're taught the exact same, I don't know why I'm holding that, taught the same posture and everything, and that's very important, and we don't have that on electric guitar. So I didn't feel that we needed that, but when Troy came about and did that, I was impressed by it. And the important thing, I'll bring you back in now, the important thing to note is actually, I don't use Troy's stuff in my teaching. I don't teach technique. I have absolutely, well, not absolutely zero, but virtually no interest in developing my own technique anymore, because I've put all my time into the musicality side of things, and, you know, still lacking, obviously. But yeah, it's not really a case of I feel that Troy is always right, because actually when he did the downward pickslanting thing, that didn't apply to me. I'm not a downward pickslanter. I don't have that natural, I'm like you, I have that natural upward pickslant in my playing. What Troy's stuff has done for me, and what I feel his material benefits, I don't actually send anybody to his stuff and say, you need to watch his stuff because it will teach you how to play. I don't think it does. I think when you watch enough of his stuff, it puts you in a position where you can understand your own technique. I've never noticed that I actually angle my pick a little bit that way, and now, based on what Troy's shown me, I can understand why this particular string cross is difficult for me, and it never occurred to me before, but now I understand why. And yeah, everybody is doing it now. Chris Brooks talks about it, Ben Eller, like I say, and I think as time goes on, more and more people are just going to adopt that terminology. But yeah, I wanted to give Troy that respect of, he's not a teacher. I don't think Troy's a teacher. He's a scientist. He's here's what I've researched and here's my observations. But yeah, go on.
He's not a science. Let's talk about that, because that's a very good. I'm glad you said that, because in the comment section of these videos, people there's like this worship of him. They say he's a scientist. They say it's scientific. There's no I know you've been to college. I've been to college. I've taught at colleges. Okay, there's no science to what he's slowing down an Ingve video, Levi. There's no science.
You've not watched enough of it then. I'm sorry, you've not. I can't pull it up because I don't have a membership. But Troy has sat down and interviewed sports scientists to look into how muscles work and the way that we rotate. And I can't even tell you what ulnar deviation is, but I know that Troy talks about and demonstrates in diagrams how the body works and what ulnar deviation is.
That doesn't have anything to do with like playing the guitar, then.
No, but so why has he done it? Why is it there?
Exactly. I know. That's my point.
But so, and again, this is why I'd say watch more of it, because, and again, I'm going to get the terminology wrong, because like I say, I've not watched every single thing he's done. It's just every single thing that he has done that I've watched, I've gone, that's interesting. I've never considered that. So ulnar rotation versus ulnar deviation, those are two separate movements. And when you look at like Chris Brooks' method of playing versus Rusty Cooley's method of playing, their actual mechanic of how they pluck a string is different. Throw Eric Johnson into the mix and it's totally different. Sean Lane, like a different picking mechanic. So understanding how things work and explaining things like that is that not the definition of science? It's explaining what you observe.
You're making my point for me. What were all these people doing? Like, look, let's like trace this back. What were all these people doing before Troy Grady? They were playing the guitar.
Yep.
They were learning how to play the guitar. Everybody that you just mentioned, Rusty, Sean Lane, all these people.
Yeah.
Okay. Even the people he covers, Eric Johnson, Ingve, all this stuff. They were playing guitar before 4 years ago when Troy Grady posted the video.
Yep.
Okay. So what they were doing was they were picking up the guitar, learning it. And I admit there are picking problems that player, the student, whatever we're going to say, that they need to solve. Okay? Absolutely. I do not, I'm in no way saying that that's not a thing. That is absolutely a thing. But what happens is, as you practice, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 hours a day over the months and the years, as you've seen with guitar, as long as it's existed, people solve these problems themselves.
No, they don't. That's bullshit. And we know that's, and the reason we can say that's bullshit is because, yeah, sure, Malmsteen nailed it, and Rusty Cooley nailed it, and Paul Gilbert nailed it. But for every successful Malmsteen, there are 1,000 guitar players that gave up because they could never break through that wall. And you and I, we've seen them all because we're teachers. We've seen people that have tried and then given up. No, you're right. Like there's definitely, if you put in the hours, you come closer to that level of success. But I think that's the point. Like Malmsteen can't explain why his technique works for him, and that's why I find Troy's thing interesting, because he really just fills in for the things that Malmsteen can't explain. Like it's not, you can't deny what's been observed. It's, that's what Malmsteen does and that's why it works for him. So Malmsteen can't explain that. If when I was 14, 15 and I was learning to play Malmsteen, trying to learn to play Malmsteen, I never achieved it. I'm not saying that watching Troy's stuff would help me do it, but if I was having problems in my technique, it would help me to understand why those problems were there. So it's not a surefire way of teaching you to do anything. It's just helping you understand. And yeah, sure, the guys that were about beforehand were Malmsteen and guys like that. They could all do these things, but we can't just say that it's accepted that everybody that learns to play can do these things, because there's so many dreadful shred guitar players out there that have been playing for 40 years that still sound like bad Van Halens. You'd think that after 40 years they'd sound like, at least they'd sound as good as Eddie in 1978, but they don't.
Yeah, but I know, but so what you're saying is that if we show these people that Yngwie is using a downward pick slant, then all of a sudden everybody's going to be Yngwie?
No.
And they weren't before?
No, that's the point. And I keep reiterating that. I think anybody that purchases Troy's material with the goal of playing like Yngwie is misguided. And I think you're right. Like, if you have a goal of wanting to play like Malmsteen, you're right. Go and buy Chris Brooks, the Yngwie, because that teaches you, or the Yngwie. I don't even know how you'd pronounce that. It's a silly name. Well done, Chris. I think if you wanted to learn to play like Malmsteen, you would purchase that. I agree that Troy's stuff, it doesn't teach you to do anything. I don't even see it as teaching. I mean, he does teaching stuff. I see it as science. It's an explanation of what is observed.
Levi, that's the point. Okay, look, you are a guitar teacher.
Yeah.
I'm a guitar teacher, and we've played guitar for years, and that's the point. The point is you understand that he isn't teaching anything, but these people that are watching these videos and these people that are commenting on your criticism of my video and all that stuff, these people don't understand that. They think he is teaching something. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying that you don't get it.
Yeah,
I understand that you get it, but I don't think the general guitar people, which is a very niche thing to begin with.
Yeah.
I don't think that they get it, because and I don't think Troy does a good job of telling them, like, I'm not a teacher. The dude went to Yale and majored in Italian. He doesn't have a PhD in music theory or anything like that. Okay. He wears the Yale t-shirt, and I guess everybody thinks like, oh, well, he got a PhD in guitar from Yale. He majored in linguistics. Okay. So, but
he knows more than you or I will ever know. I really firmly believe that. I think he has a deeper understanding. Like, Troy is as far from autistic as you can get, but he's got like that high functioning level of autism when it comes to the understanding of the ins and outs of the mechanics of playing pick technique.
I can't dispute that, because I don't know that, you know, but from what I've seen, I'm not gathering that. The point here is, like, I'm going to say this, and I think what he's doing, but not just him, and I don't know him, and the problem that I have with what he's doing is he's got a business, and I think he's being, he videotaped these guitar players, and he's a good little capitalist and started his business, and I don't know how much money he makes. I think but he's not, as you said, as we've just discussed, he's not teaching anything, but he's not really telling anybody that. He says the word system. You say that he doesn't teach a system, but he uses the word system.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm doing air quotes. Sorry. he uses the word system like a lot.
Can I expand on that then? So, like, I totally get. I agree. Like, you make a really good point there. I get what Troy does. I understand it, and you're right that maybe a lot of people don't. But in order for that to be proven, what we need is a long list, or a reasonable size list of customers that are unhappy, that have worked through some of Troy's stuff and left not feeling like they've learned something. And I think consistently, like 99% of people, even if they don't, because nobody achieves what they want on the guitar. We all know that. Like, guitar players, all they want to do is go out and buy this new product, hoping that it's going to find the magic shortcut. And really, the magic shortcut is fucking hard work and practice. I spend a fortune on guitar instructional materials, and I know that I'm never going to find the shortcut. I've just got an addiction to it now. Maybe one day I'll find a magic shortcut. Like, they're never going to get that. But that not every single customer, but just about everybody that I've ever spoken to that has purchased one of Troy's products has left having learned something, understood something. Like, they get a benefit out of it. The reason his business grows and grows and grows is because it spreads through word of mouth. People say, this was really cool. I really enjoyed this. And like, I'm not going to get into a slagging match because we'll completely agree on this. I'm sure we can think of several guitar players that sell products online that don't get any good reviews whatsoever, and that there are only negative things to search about that people say about. So I don't want to to me, the idea of Troy being in that category is crazy. And you talk about like systems. Yeah. Again, it's like, this is the system that Malmsteen uses. This is the system that Malmsteen uses that he's not even aware of. And like, when my actual issue with that first video, was I felt like you didn't, and I feel like you do now, you didn't understand Troy's point. I felt that you thought then he was teaching, because the issue in that video is you talk about like, but that's not the only way you can play that. And I'm like, of course it's not the only way you can play it. He's not saying that's the way to play it. He's saying that is the way that Malmsteen plays it. And that was true. And then to demonstrate your point of saying that's not the only way to play it, I'd play it like this. I'd start on an upstroke and then you upward Pickslant in order to do it. Like, yeah, that's, of course, you could play everything with just downstrokes. Like, it's all totally doable. But Troy's thing is, this is how this guy does it. And I think that's really, I don't know if valuable is the right word, because I think that has limited value to people, but it's certainly interesting to nerds like me. I love sitting and watching things like to see how Eric Johnson does his descending fives pattern, because I don't pick it the same way Eric does. I assumed I did, but I don't.
Again, to go back to the original video that you criticized, I said in the video, I mean, anybody here can go watch it again if they really want to put themselves through that torture, but I said in the video, it does not have zero value.
Yeah.
It just has little value. Now, little value and zero value is two different things. I didn't say it had zero value. I said it had little educational value. That's what I said. I think that was my exact words, little educational value.
I'm sure somebody in the comments will tell us on the exact quote. Yeah.
But I don't pick on just Troy. And like I said, just my final word on that is, yes, when he puts a camera on somebody and slows it down, I mean, that's empirical evidence that you can't argue with. And I'm never tried to.
Yeah.
I'm saying that it doesn't have any educational value. That's what I mean. It has very little musical educational value, because this is the bigger point I want to talk about. And I don't want to just pick on Troy. I think there's a lot of this going on YouTube, and it runs rampant. Oh, by the way, also to clarify, no, you are correct. Troy, there are worse than Troy, a lot worse, and I would not put him in other camps of people that, we don't need to. But anyway, there's not just him, but other people. You've often said on other videos that I've watched of yours that, you're open to this criticism of other people's guitar playing, and you criticize other people's guitar playing, and everybody in the comment section does. And you say that you welcome it, because you say that you don't need to be a chef to criticize the food. But as I said in our first conversation, you don't need to be a chef to criticize the food. You are correct in saying that, but you at least need to be a food critic. And how do you start to be a if you want your opinion to be taken seriously?
Yeah.
So how do you start to be a food critic? Well, you're a kid somewhere, or an adult, I don't know, and you go eat some food, right? And so you write an article maybe for your local newspaper. Maybe you start a blog on the internet where you criticize some food.
Yeah.
And maybe some people read it. And maybe the New York Times wants you to write an article for them. And so you do. And people read that. And they're like, wow, this guy's opinion's great on food. And so then the Chicago Tribune, and then the UK Telegraph or whatever.
Yeah.
And so and then all of a sudden, after you put in those years of trying, maybe people will then take your opinion seriously and say, wow, he really knows a lot about food. There you go. Okay. So like when you have an opinion on a guitar, like I know history just because we've talked.
Yep.
And I guess you know some of mine, you know? So, like, if you have a comment on a guitar player, I take that. I may not agree, I may disagree, but I take it more seriously than just some kid on YouTube who is not using his picture. He's not using his real name. And if he is using his picture and being an asshole, when you click on his picture, you go, oh.
Yeah. The anonymity of the internet is a wonderful and fucking disgustingly cesspool-y thing, and I hate it for the most part because I get my fair share of abuse. And I'm gonna just to again clarify, I actually agree with you there and disagree. I don't feel that you need to be a food critic to criticize food. If something tastes like shit, you know what shit, well, hopefully you don't know what shit tastes like, but if something doesn't taste good to you, you can say it doesn't taste good. But I did make a video on that very subject of everything you talked about there, where people were up in arms because Tom Quayle said, I don't get Sean Lane. And the reason that offends people so much, aside from Sean obviously not being with us anymore and therefore having some sort of untouchable godly status and you can't speak ill of the dead. No, the reason people don't like that is because Tom's opinion is actually worth more than the average Joe blogs on the street. If my mum says I don't like Sean Lane, no one gives a shit. But Tom's opinion, he's qualified, therefore his opinion has more value. So yeah, it's a sliding scale. Everybody is entitled to opinion, and everybody's opinion matters. But some people's opinions have a lot more weight and value than others. Yeah. But okay, so I'll tell you what. Let's move on from that first video. But
I want to move on. Yeah, because what I want to talk about is of this other thing, like, and it comes back around to Troy. Okay, look, there's this like. Music, if you entertain me for a second, music, you know, Pythagoras in like I don't know, 500 BC or something like that, you know, discovered the harmonic series. You know, people watching this video probably learned this in high school, or as it pertains to music, you know, you and I did in college or whatever. Yeah. So Pythagoras develops the harmonic series, or I'm sorry, not develops. I'm sorry.
Observes.
He discovers. Yeah. He discovers it because it already existed.
Yeah.
Now you can say, God put it here. If you're a believer, you know.
I've got a feeling you wouldn't say that though.
No, I wouldn't say that. I would say that, you know, it existed. Like, just, you know, like if you're a non-believer, you can say gravity always existed. So the harmonic series always existed, and Pythagoras just discovered it, you know? Yeah. Okay, so when you look at the harmonic series, and anybody watching this, if they don't understand the harmonic series, I would definitely say go investigate it, because when you look at the harmonic series, you see all of the scales, it's got all of the notes. You start seeing the scales forming, the chords forming, you know, and that's how music was, you know, people started writing music, you know? Yeah. I mean, okay, so.
I'm sure we were writing music long before we discovered these things.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think music goes back to, like there's ancient flutes from like 50,000 years ago. Yeah. But my point is with like Pythagoras and the harmonic series and the discovery of the harmonic series, right?
Yeah.
Right there, when that happens, you have to understand you're going to fall into two camps. You're either going to say it's divine, or you're going to say it's, you know, a work of the cosmos, or whatever you're going to say, or a witch made it up. I don't know, but that's where we go, and we expand from there, and we get to Bach, and we get to Mozart, and we get to Stravinsky, and then we get to Steve Vai or Eddie Van Halen or whatever. This is the macro thing of music, okay? You know, like, and there's a phenomenology of music where these people that do this, okay, they're not, follow me here, I'm sorry for being long-winded, but okay. People that are Miles Davis, Stravinsky, John McLaughlin, Alan Holdsworth, Sean Lane, these people are expressing themselves, and they're trying to reach for something, because anybody who's watching this, even if they don't know what I'm talking about, when you hear something that's really good, or you look at art that's really good, you feel, or you see a guitar player in our sense that's really good. You watch Alan Holdsworth, you have this sense of awe.
Yeah.
And you could tell me that, well, that sense of awe, we can take you to a laboratory and inject you with some chemicals. It's just a reaction in the brain. And I totally believe that. But I like that. I like that feeling.
Yep.
And I feel this sense of wonderment, when I watch Alan Holdsworth. I'm like, wow. Or I love Bill Evans. I was listening to Bill Evans before we started talking. So Bill Evans, like, wow, man. It's just, it amazes me.
I totally get it. Yeah. First time I heard Derek Chucks, yeah. It was it was on a deep level. It was music that I didn't understand or couldn't play, but it just hit me like a ton of bricks in the chest. Yeah.
Absolutely right. And so thank you for indulging me. And so the point that I'm getting to with this is people today, all of that we're losing that. Because if you watch Troy Grady and you're a kid and you're like, okay, downward Pickslanting, and then I've got the Levi transcriptions of the Yngwie licks, cool. And you start practicing. Now, everybody listening to me, and Levi will tell you this too, just because you know about downward Pickslanting and you have the tabs, that doesn't mean shit. I mean, you have to practice that shit for a long time to get good at it. We're not talking 8 hours one day. We're talking 8 hours a day over many, many, many years.
Yeah. Oh, we could make the argument that like that's been a massive problem for 30 years, ever since tab became popularized and Wolf Marshall started doing those tab books and things. That's when people stopped using their ears, and it was about, I just put my fingers here, but none of the everything you've described there, like the physical connection with what's happening, the expression, none of that happened. Yeah.
Right, that's the thing, because what does the kid want to do today? He wants to get the Troy video, and he wants to get the Levi transcriptions and learn how to play the stuff, because he wants to make a YouTube video so people would like give it a thumbs up and tell him how great he is, or go on Facebook and put the video and say how great he is. That's what he wants. That's not what, to me personally, that's not what any of this is about. Again, I go back to the macro. What Troy's doing is just a micro thing in this macro world that people don't get. They're just like, okay, cool. I'm gonna get the Troy thing. I'm gonna learn the Yngwie licks. I'm gonna make a YouTube video, and I'm gonna subscribe. And all my friends are gonna tell me how great I am. We don't need another Yngwie. We don't need that. So this gets back to like all of this shit is like, I don't understand what the point of any of these people. It's like and it goes back to the worship. Like, even the guys that you've criticized, these other instructors, it's like we're chimpanzees, right? And there's like chimpanzee hierarchy, right? So like, if you want to climb to the top of the pyramid of the chimpanzees, you got to do a couple things, right? You either got to like fight your way to the top, or if you're not a fighter, you have to go out into the world and go on the hero's journey, right? And get like information and bring it back. Yep. And so all these people in the comment section, they think Troy or name your YouTube guitar instructor here, have gone out into the world, gotten information, brought it back to the chimpanzee tribe, and now we've elevated them up the pyramid, when I think we need to be elevating people that are doing music, that are making music.
Yeah, Matt, like, honestly, like, I think I fully understand what you're saying, and I think just about everybody that's watching this will understand what you're saying. Like, YouTube has, the music industry's been dying for a long time, in terms of, how we consume music and the value that we attribute to music. It's just, people expect music to be free and shit like that, and I'm sure we can talk for a length about that. But, now kids want to play like Jason Richardson, and he's playing Leaves Me Cold, because it is cold, like, it's clinical, it's mathematical, it's technically perfect, and I have no will to ever sound like that. I can play, like, well, less so now, but as a shred player, like, when I really warm up my chops, like, I've got some licks. I can record stuff, and it sound cool. I put out 2 albums. My Hellcat Molly album, Out of the Ashes, like, I defy anybody to listen to any song on that, and when it gets to the guitar solo, honestly say, well, that was shit. Like every single solo, they're not world class, but every single one of them there's something cool about it. And then none of them are perfect. They've all got fluffs and hams in them because that's real. That's passion. That's what music is. And as much as I make all of this YouTube content, everything was about that album. I put out an album and it was supposed to be my magnum opus. It's songs. I wrote songs. Like there's lyrics. The words on every one of those songs is important to me. It was therapy. I was getting shit off my chest. And you know what? People don't care. I put that stuff out and still, even though my YouTube channel grows and I'm constantly plugging those albums, man, I've sold 2, maybe 3 of them in the last 12 months. No one cares. No, absolutely no one cares. People just don't care about music. And yeah, like you're completely right in that people need to remember that the technical side of things isn't important. All you need to do is go and watch like my Scotty Anderson video that I uploaded yesterday. The guy's a motherfucker of a player and he doesn't know anything. He can't really explain very much, but he's just one of the best players you'll ever hear. He just hears stuff in his head and he plays it and it's musical and there's hams all over the place. He fucks up all over the place. But yeah, it's just music and kids today will probably listen to it in the same way that I kind of, if I'm honest, listened to Hendrix when I was younger and went, I mean, he's pretty out of tune. I didn't understand it because it was from a generation before mine. We're in this horrible situation now, I think, where like the Van Halens, even going back to the Petrucci's, like the 90s eras of players and the 2000s, yeah, fuck it, even the 2000s, the new metal thing, that's the old man's music. Like that's monkey to man. And what the kids listen to today, all the Polyphia and the Periphery and the Animals as Leaders and stuff like that, it's a whole different kettle of fish. And ultimately, everything that you and I love and the thing that we hold our sword up to defend is dying and no one cares about it. And I don't think you and I could sit and shout about this and scream at the camera and point and be like, sort your fucking lives out. Start caring about real passionate music. Put some Derek Trucks on. Go listen to Bill Evans. Eventually you'll get it. Put Mel Travis on. It's just, I don't think there's any hope of people ever getting it. I was with my friends in a car today and I just put 2 Jerry Reed albums on when we were driving back from Glasgow. And I could see this look in their face in the rearview mirror. Like, what is this? What has he put on? They weren't even willing to like engage it. It was just like, oh, this sounds like old man music, and to them it is.
Right. So I mean, and I know that you don't feel this way, but to bring it back around full circle, I personally feel that Troy is I feel it's dangerous, and I feel there's other guys that are probably more dangerous, but I think it's dangerous, and the reason why I think it's dangerous, if anybody has hung on this long to the video. How deep are we into this video
now? 40 minutes.
Okay, cool. So we got about 20 more, maybe.
Yeah. People they'll be here.
Huh?
They'll be here. People will still be here.
If they're still here, this is the finish to the match. This is the Stone Cold Stunner. This is the this is the super kick that I was coming to. I think it's dangerous because of that fact that we just went over. It's anti-musical. It's not about making music. It's about, hey, I'm gonna show you how to play some licks in your bedroom, and you can get a 4K webcam and make some videos for your friends and put it on Facebook, and everybody's gonna tell you if you listen to me and follow this and do your downward Pickslanting and stuff, everybody's gonna tell you you're fucking amazing. And I mean.
No, I see what you're getting at. I do see what you're getting at. But you're suffering old man syndrome. It's get out of my yard kind of thing. Like, you're right, you're completely right in everything that you said, but there is definitely going to come a time where we need to accept the fact that what people want from the music that they play, and even the music, the shit that the kids want to listen to today, has changed dramatically from what you and I love and what most of the people on this channel will love. That breaks my heart.
It's funny, and you're way more up on a lot of the because I mean, you should be because you're younger than me, but you're way up. And I'm not on social. I'm not on social media, but I'm not trying to hide from anybody. That's another thing. Everybody was like, he's not on Facebook. He's not on this. He's not on that. Look, you know what? This is everybody who wants to talk to me or engage me. I will engage. My email address, uderoche@gmail.com. Subscribe to this YouTube channel where I don't have any videos. I don't know what I'll do with that. Find me on Skype, we'll talk. I will not engage with fucking vulgarity. Like, if you just come at me like, you fucking suck, you cuck, SJW piece of shit.
There's
like,
no
I'm
need
not
for
engaged.
it. There's just no need for that shit.
If anybody in cyberspace, if you just want to talk about guitar or music or anything that I've said you disagree with and you want to have a civil conversation about it, absolutely, I'll do. So, but you're way more up on the young guitar players than I am, and you mentioned one to me last time. This the cross picking guy, the guy that's really good.
Andy Wood, maybe.
No.
Tell me more.
He's a German.
Oh,
he's German.
Martin Miller.
Martin Miller.
Yeah.
So you brought Martin Miller up to me, and I totally don't know who this person is. So after we talked, I was like, well, Levi said this guy's really awesome. I'm going to go check him out. And I did, and I watched a bunch of videos. He has a video. Check this out. This is amazing, right? He has a video where he's doing an hour-and-a-half Skype lesson with a student.
Yep.
A student in the States.
Mike Smithson. Yep.
And, okay. That's the same. Okay. And so they don't talk about cross picking. They talk about solfeggio. They talk about like singing, the scales. Super educational. Why isn't anybody?
Dude, like this is interesting for lots of reasons. One, because Martin Miller, Troy did he's done 2 interviews with Martin now, and they talk about that kind of thing. Martin, I would love to be able to pull Martin up in these conversations and in these Skype things. Martin and I are very close. He's one of my best friends. We talk every day. He's a fascinating person because what I was talking about earlier about the piano and the conservatoire way of learning. Like Martin had a classical education on the guitar in a conservatory in Germany, conservatoire. So his method and his way of thinking about things, I actually get that, and I explain the thing about the piano and what Troy says. Sorry, how do I rephrase that? What I feel Troy is going to have brought to the scene 10 years from now, that all comes from actually talking to Martin about this stuff. Because, I think that kind of standardization and the solfege system is not a way that I learned. It was presented to me when I was in high school, but I was developing my ears in other ways. So, arrogant little teenager, I shunned the concept. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like the stuff that Martin's doing, more people need to go and watch his channel, because he's uploaded 2 lessons with Mike Smithson on his YouTube channel, Skype lessons, and they're both excellent, because what you see there that's what good teachers do. Like if you go to one of these bad teachers, and I don't need to say their names because anybody that watches my new YouTube channel knows exactly who I'm talking about. These guys, when they promise they can teach you to be better improvisers and phrase better, and they'll help you develop your ear and all that, they don't know how to develop all that. That's why all their playing sounds stale and terrible. Like they'll be able to teach you how to alternate pick really fast, but that's not music. Like you can go and study with those guys for 10 years and you'll come out a better alternate picker than I'll ever be, and you will sound like you're stuck in 1983. Or 1986, I should say, like the Paul Gilbert Racer X, first 2 Racer X albums. And you'll never progress past that, because in order to achieve that level of technique, you've blocked everything down into picking mechanics and shit like that. And that's why I don't recommend Troy's stuff as the pinnacle of educational material, because I think music education should be about that, the musical side of things. It's why I recommended, actually, I did a video just recently on recommending websites where you can learn stuff from, to combat these bad websites. And the first 2 that popped into my mind were Learning Guitar Now, which is John Tuggle's website. He teaches blues guitar, slide guitar and stuff like that, and I learned a lot about slide from his website. And Anthony at Texas Blues Alley, again, he does the Stevie Ray Vaughan and the Hendrix and the Albert King style thing, and they're both great at it, because they capture all of that, the nuance, the thing that you don't get on the page. You can't learn blues from a book. You have to listen to it. You have to hear it. So I agree with you. Like, more people should watch Martin's stuff. And I mean, we've done the best part of 50 minutes talking about Troy, and I didn't really want to talk about Troy all that much. But you raise excellent points, and I hope that in time that concept catches on. I think Troy's stuff, it's always going to be of interest to people. I think there's always going to be a market for it, but at the same time, it's not a surefire way to help you learn how to play. If you have been playing guitar for 6 months and you go and buy Troy's stuff, you're wasting your money. Like, you need to have been playing guitar for 5 years, I think, before you're going to get lots of interest out of Troy's stuff before you can.
And going back to, my original like Facebook feed and, the live stream, and I didn't get to say this at the time, but I mean, it was the point that I was trying to get to. And I feel that, you helped to misrepresent me. I didn't explain myself very well, but that's what that's the point that I was trying to make, is because the people on my Facebook page, I mean, let's just be honest, like most people on social media, on YouTube, on Facebook or whatever, most people, they're just trying to learn. Yeah. And I think if you're just trying, because and how do I know that? I know that because if they were like Martin Miller, then they would probably be, like doing albums and recording stuff. Okay, so they wouldn't be sitting on Facebook, right? Okay, so that's the point, is if you're just learning, that's what you need to be doing, is you need to be learning how to, I'm sorry, but you need to learn how to read music. You need to learn how to like do some ear training and things of this. And you absolutely need to do technique too. You have to do technique. You can never forget about your technique. But technique's a moving target. And I think that's what you were saying. It's a moving target that you're never really going to hit the bullseye on.
Yeah. And if you do, you'll lose all of the musicality in doing it.
Right. I mean, like, as amazingly technical as John McLaughlin is, everything he plays is totally musical and badass,
Well, yeah, as amazingly technical as he is, he's not perfect. Like, you can listen to, you hear, lots of scruffy notes and things that he misses all the time.
Yeah.
And that's real.
Dude, I was just talking about that the other day. Intermounting Flame, you listen to Meeting of the Spirits. When he goes into the guitar solo, he's got the guitar Marshall amp cranked. It's dry as hell. There's no reverb. There's no delay. There's no nothing. He's playing like super fast. What he's playing is fucking awesome. But you can tell, like, it's not like, how can I say it? Because I worship John McLaughlin, but it's not precise.
It's not perfect.
It's not like scalpel surgeon precise.
But it's real. It's exactly what he needed to do to convey what he was trying to convey at the time. If anything, if he played it perfect, I think it would have missed the point. And there are guitar players now that would do all of that stuff and pick every single note perfectly. And you just sound like Guitar Pro when you do that. Like, there's... And I always say this about Sean Lane, and again, people get upset when I say this, but and Holdsworth, I've transcribed enough of both of those guys. I've listened to their music in more detail than just about anybody ever will. There's a select group of people that have had their music in that much detail. Sean wasn't a pristine player. He was fast, but when he was really fast, he was all over the place. He was missing notes but that's all part of the effect. It's that I love that track on Centrifugal Funk, Lane's Blitz, because of the name. That's literally what that is. It's a blitz. It's just him just going, ah! and that facial expression I do there, ah! That's important, because if everything was pristine and perfect, the face wouldn't be, ah! It would be. There's no feeling in that. So when I talk about the Hellcat Molly album and shit like that, and people, if you want to criticize it and go, oh, that was you didn't hit that note very cleanly. No, you're damn right I didn't. And I have no interest in fixing it. I could have done. I could have fixed every single note, quantized everything, but that's not music. That's
absolutely. And people I know, I have like most people. You, me, I have vast interest in a lot. Man, I listen to everything over here from country, Hank Williams, to blues, to Robert Johnson, B.B. King, to Stravinsky, to Bill Evans, to Miles Davis. I'm not just into fucking Motley Crue, And the thing is that if I hit a wrong note, sometimes it's an accident. but sometimes it's on purpose. And you may not like the way it sounds, but fucking Schoenberg wrote a lot of shit that was out of key.
Yeah, man.
And he hit people over the head with it with like a sledgehammer. And so if I'm doing some little tapping lick and I hit this weird note that you're like, oh, he fucked up. How do you know that? Maybe I didn't fuck up. Maybe I want to fucking hit this, do this quasi atonal tapping thing, but people, they just get on YouTube and say like, oh, you totally fucked that up, and it's like,
yeah. Oh man, the amount of criticism that I've got on my videos, because I don't use my little finger all that much, because I don't need to. I can play with the fingers 1, 2, and 3, and then I use my little finger when I do wider, stretchy stuff. And because of that, fingers 1, 2, and 3 take care of most of the action. So I uploaded like a 2.5-minute solo, a guest solo with Chris Zupa, and somebody made a comment about how little I use my little finger, and I counted it. In 2.5 minutes of shredding, I used my little finger about 12 times. But so fucking what? Like, why does it matter? This is people listening with their eyes. Like, why are you listening with your eyes?
Yes, no, man. I'm glad you said that, because that was another thing that I wanted to bring up, because I got to get all. It's like wrestling. I got to get all my shit in. I got to get all my moves in. So we'll probably never do this again. But like,
no, we can do this again. We've been going for an hour, and I'm sure like we've got a hell of a lot that we could talk about, and people would be interested to hear it. So, mark my words, you'll be back. But carry on.
No. Anytime, man. Anytime. And absolutely, no, that's some kind of way, like I guess it started with like MTV or something, but we have turned an oral medium into a visual medium, People are now like watching music instead of listening to it. It's like, fuck, man, like, okay, if you like Tom Quayle, and I know you and Tom are friends, okay, everybody that likes Tom Quayle, like, click on the Tom Quayle video and close your eyes and don't watch Tom Quayle. Just listen to Tom Quayle, because that's what it's about. It's not about really like watching. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love watching like live performance. If it's an instructional video, you need to be watching.
Yeah.
But if it's just a track, if it's like a Tom Quayle track that he's playing, one of his songs, like just close your eyes and like listen to him playing, because that's what it's about. It's not about. It's not about.
Man, I'll make this the last little anecdote, and this refers to a blog that I did before I started doing the YouTube thing. I wrote 2 blogs on the subject of stop listening with your damn eyes. And the reason I wrote this is because, and I can say this now, I was working at the time, I was one of the head organisers for the Guitar Idol competition. And when it came down to moving from the first selection, the entries, like 2,000 entries or whatever, it wasn't that many, it's about 400 entries, having to whittle them down to the 100 or so that were going on the website for people to vote on in the next round. There were some like great submissions, but there were also some, and I remember very vividly, I really got into it on social media. A guy was really ripping into me because I didn't put him through to the second round, right? But he didn't sound very good. Like, that's all it comes down to. He didn't sound very good. But he said, I'm disabled, so you should cut me some slack. The guy only has one arm, so he's got a stump there, and he has a pick attached to his stump, and he's playing like that. And I'm like, cool. But ultimately, when it comes down to listening to your music, like, it didn't make the cut. It's as simple as that. So I did this blog post where I talk about, listen, here are some examples of music. You tell me which ones sound good and which ones don't sound good. Is this recording like someone that's just not very good, or do they just have one arm? Is this recording, I put a Larry Coryell example in there, a live recording of Larry Coryell where he wasn't on, and Larry had bad days, and it sounded like a 12-year-old playing with very little experience. Is it suddenly better when I tell you it's Larry Coryell? I put a great example of a 12-year-old girl playing like better than I'll ever play. And it doesn't sound, it's not good because she's a 12-year-old girl. It's good because it sounds awesome. And I put a clip of my one of the old Hellcat Molly demos where all my bending is really out of tune and shit like that. And because it makes the point, like, yeah, it's cool. All music is cool and watching stuff is cool. But ultimately, would you listen to it? When you're in your car driving from A to B, does it touch you? Does it do something for you? If not, it doesn't matter. Nobody listens to a CD and goes, oh, I mean, that doesn't sound great, but you know, he doesn't have any arms, so we'll cut him a break. He plays everything with his nose and his toe. He picks the string with his big toe and he frets the notes with his nose. It sounds like shit, but you know, he's suffered through tremendous adversity, so we'll cut him a break. It just doesn't work like that.
Ultimately, too, I mean, to end on my end, ultimately, everybody, if you made it this far, I would like you all to know that none of this shit matters. Okay? Troy doesn't matter. I don't matter. Levi doesn't matter. None of this shit matters. Tom Quayle doesn't matter. Sean Lane. Nobody matters, because check this out. And I told Levi this last time. I'll bring it up again today. There's this thing called mukbang, where it's these Korean women that cook Korean food, and they talk about so they cook the food in the video. They're cooking. They share their recipe. Then they eat the dish, and they talk to the camera about their day, about their husband, their kids, whatever. These videos have 1, 2, 3, 4 million views. So we're talking about Troy Grady's most watched video has like 230,000 views, which is, you know, nothing to sneeze at. But fuck, there's a lady that cooks Korean food with 4 million views. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, it's important, but it's not important. Yeah. You know, like, I mean, I'm, you know. But you started this, man.
Well, yeah. So, like, for anybody that's worried, like, we've done like an hour here, and you can see from watching this, like, we get on fine. We've got a lot in common. We agree on stuff. We disagree on stuff, and it's cool that we disagree on stuff, because that's how you have discussions and you grow as people. So anybody that followed our drama in the past, like, that got out of hand. It didn't need to get that out of hand. Things got petty. You made a response to me, and that got personal. So then I set everything that I had on fire and just screamed abuse into the camera. And I've removed that video from YouTube because, yeah, it doesn't reflect well anymore. It's not about abuse. It's about ideas and talking to each other about each other's ideas, and that's why I didn't want to remove that first video, because it doesn't get big views anymore, but people can still go back and watch it, and they can agree with you or they can disagree with you. They can agree with things that I say, or they can disagree with things that I say, and I know that I got a fair share of hate on that video, not because people disagreed with what I said, but because they don't like how I said it. I can criticize what you say, but as soon as I throw ad hominems at you, then I've lost the argument. And yeah, I think it's valid that people make things like that and they come to their conclusions based on what is there. But the abuse, there's no need to abuse Ursin, because as you can see, he's a cool and interesting guy, and he's got thoughts and opinions, and they're all totally valid. You can learn something from him. We can all learn something from everybody else. So yeah, thank you so much for your time, Ursin. I appreciate it. Is there anything you'd like to add for the viewers?
I'm not hiding from anybody. Hit me up on Skype. We'll talk. If you don't hit me up, but you know, look, if you're going to comment on this video and you're going to say that I suck or Levi sucks or whatever, then we're going to need, this is what we're going to need. We're going to need your picture. We're going to need your real name, and we're going to need you to have videos of yourself playing guitar on your channel. Okay. Because somebody like Tom Quayle, they can come and tell us that we suck, and we'll just take it. But if you don't use your picture, don't have a name, and don't have any videos, and you tell me that I suck or Levi that he sucks, like, we're just not going to pay any attention. I'm not going to engage that. I'm not going to pay any attention unless you know, like you. I mean, I will engage if you want to like civilly talk about it. We can, but I'm not going to engage with like, you fucked that sweet picking lick up, because. Yeah. Maybe I did, but I was, you know, I felt it, man.
Yeah, don't be a coward on the internet. Like, if there's one thing I've got going for me, I've not got a lot of shit going for me. But one of the things I have going for me is I do not fucking hide from anyone. You can always see my face on camera. You know who I am. You see me in person. If you call me out on something that I've said about you, I'm not talking to you in general. I just mean in general. If anyone sees me and they criticize me for something I've said, you can absolutely fucking guarantee I will put my foot down and stand behind it, because I'm not hiding. There's videos of my playing.
If you made it this far, I stand behind that Facebook live stream. It was a Facebook live stream. I was drunk. I was talking shit. But I don't have any business recording guitar with an iPhone, and I never said Troy Grady sucks. So Troy, if you're watching, dude, I never said you suck. I never said that. But people, dude, people keep putting in dude, I've been so wrongly misquoted. Like Ursin DeRoche said that Jason Becker sucks or something. I love Jason Becker. You know, it's stupid. It's stupid. Yeah, like Levi said, like don't hide, man. Don't hide. And you know what? I've got seriously. This is no shit. And you probably disagree with me, but I've got a solution to all the internet problems.
Oh.
The governments around the world need to get separately or together. You got to have a fucking ID, and you got to use your fucking picture, and you got to use your fucking name. Look, I'm serious. That would cut down on so much shit. You got to use your picture and your name on Twitter, on Snapchat, on all this crap. You got to use your picture and your name, and if you don't, then you can't use the internet. You can't comment. You can use it, but you can't comment on anything. Like on Twitter, you know, you can just read it, but you can't type.
I mean, that feels. I see where you're coming from, and I think that would clean up the internet a lot. It'd be a bit authoritarian though. But yes, anyway, I'm gonna cut it off there.
That'll be our next conversation.
Yeah. So we'll come back. I will just sign off this. So there you go, everybody. We've gone for an hour and 10 minutes. If there is anybody still watching this, thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you've got something interesting out of that. Hopefully you want to go into the comments and call me a cunt. That's fine. I'm getting pretty used to it. I thoroughly enjoy it. And for anybody that thinks that I have no life because I respond to your comments, no. I love wrestling. I'm wearing a Dolph Ziggler hoodie. I love my wrestling, and I will always cut a deep promo on your ass. If somebody out there wants to say negative shit about me, you can. It's my hobby responding to you and cutting you motherfuckers down. So comments below. I'm looking forward to sparring with some of you. Again, one more time, Ursin, thank you so much for your time. And yeah, we'll have you back at some point, I am sure. So peace out, guys, and I'll catch you for another video soon. Bye.